Max, we've been booking some big name guests. I've got to admit.
That's true.
I don't want to pat myself on the back too hard, but
No, but go ahead. You're going to do it anyway. Yeah.
I'm very pleased to introduce our next guest because he is taking away time from coaching junior high athletics.
Yes.
That is 100% true. Here to talk with us is the head coach of the 2016 Class 1A Division I state champion, Borden County. It is Coach Trey Richey. Coach, how are you?
I'm just fine, Coach. How are you, bud?
Doing good. So we're pulling you away from junior high athletics?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It never stops for you guys.
Oh, no, sir. It wasn't long after the state game. I was driving the bus for some B basketball games to go coach. I mean, that's the world of small school life. But that's why you're here. It's we're blessed that we're in a place the way is as nice as Borden County, but school our size, there's only 4 coaches, 5 coaches, and so we play almost everything, and so you don't get to rest. It's time to go to the next thing, and actually during the middle of the playoffs, I was coaching some junior high B boys basketball and driving the bus, and it just keeps you humble for sure.
That's a good place to start. Is that you guys obviously. A lot of your success comes from the preparation you guys do in the off season. But at the same time, at a small school like Borden County, you are driving the bus, and the kids are playing basketball, and the kids are doing all sorts of other stuff. How do you balance all those things while also preparing to defend a state championship in football?
It's fun. It's definitely challenging, but those junior high kids is as much as they enjoy watching the older kids play, they're into their basketball season, and they want your full attention, their full focus on them, and so you got to try to get those guys ready. And Coach Edwards, who is the defensive coordinator for me, he's the head basketball, and I'm actually his assistant. We kind of just flip back and forth as you go throughout the year in the various sports that we coach, but he works those guys out, gets after them. We've had a junior high basketball that hadn't lost a basketball game, and I think they're 59-0 over the last few years, and so they're committed to being good in that sport too. And we all grew up at Jayton. I grew up in a coach's home, and we just have always been talked to and preached to that 2 things: one, success breeds success, and track is the builder of all athletics. So we try to live by those rules, and when you're successful in one thing, we feel like it carries over to the next, and so we don't want to. It's just like we played the state game on, and then within 3 days we were playing the number. I think at the time they were the number 10 team in 2A, and we're out there on a basketball court getting ready, because you don't get to sit around and enjoy it too long. You got to get ready for the next one, because in order to be successful, you got to get as much preparation in that one too. But it makes it tough. You get a lot of stuff done on the weekends for sure. Of course, small school life and this huddle has been the greatest thing next to post toasties. I mean, you can do everything at home. You can do it anywhere. So we do a lot of our preparation at home, and then we come together and talk about it. But that's kind of how we get through it. We do a lot of stuff on the computer at home, or come up to our classrooms at school, or then we'll meet at the coach's office. Coach Skelton, who was our girls coach, he helped me a lot on the offensive side, and so I'd meet him Sunday. Have to make sure we plan it between church and the Cowboys for me. You got to make sure we have our priorities straight right there. But anyway, we would meet Sunday in between those times and get some things, especially as the season wore on and the games got bigger and bigger and bigger.
You guys brought home your third state championship in the last 9 years with your really emphatic win over Jonesboro in the 1A Division I state championship game at AT&T Stadium. So you've been there before, although not AT&T Stadium before, but you've been there before and taken it home. What made this particular championship different?
In several ways. One, this senior bunch, the seniors and juniors, when they were in junior high, I firmly believe that it was one of the most physical, one of the best junior highs that I've ever seen. This is my 24th year at Borden County. It's one of the best junior highs I've ever seen walk through these halls. And so I kind of made, how sometimes you do stupid things, and I kind of made a bold prediction when these seniors were eighth graders, that before they finished, they'd have their picture on the wall because we'd win a state title or two. And, not winning it last year, coming up short, there was kind of a lot of pressure on making it happen. And so it was special because the pressure was on us. And then it became even more special because we went through the injury bug. We had 4 juniors that had surgery at some point in time. And then when we got in the playoffs, all of a sudden our bell cow, the Sumner's kid, he's nursed a stress fracture the last month. And then the Jones kid, he was hurt all year he has tendonitis in both knees. And so we juggled him, and then my son had a hurt shoulder and he missed some practices. So we went from, we were hurt, we got healthy, and then we got hurt again in the playoffs. So then just battling through it made that special. And then you throw in the fact that I'm been a Cowboys fan my whole life, and you get to go to AT&T Stadium. And I tell you what, they took great care of us. It was a dream come true to drive underneath the stadium, pull up right to your dressing room. And I mean, it would have been something these kids would remember the rest of their life, whether we won or we didn't. But I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, who's not going to sit here and tell you that winning sure didn't make that memory a whole lot better? But it was quite an amazing, stretch, an amazing year, and just culminated with a tremendous, opportunity to play in the great environment, treated the way we were treated, and then to come away with the win the way we did.
We're talking with Trey Richey, the head coach of the 1A Division I state champion Borden County Coyotes here on DCTF Live. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag DCTF Live. Coach, you mentioned a lot of the adversity you guys went through, not only as far as the injuries, but folks may not remember because you guys did a lot of winning, but there was a loss in there. You go back to September 10th, and you guys drop a real tight one to a real good Calvert team. I want to ask you, how important, obviously you never want to take a loss, but
right.
How important was that moment for your team of maybe giving you a moment to resettle things?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it could be the defining moment of the year. There was the game before, we actually had 5 kids get hurt, and they all missed. One of them was a season-ending injury. And a couple others were, several months. And so we go into the Calvert game, and we've got, 2 relays that go to the state track meet last year. And basically, half of that relay is standing on the sidelines, a lot of our speed. And then, Jones is dealing with those knees and trying to figure out what he's doing. So he's not even at 100%, and then my son was just getting back, so he's not 100%. So even we had the 5 gone. We have those 2 guys that are, still trying to play themselves into shape. Hunter Jones is trying to figure out exactly how to deal with his knees that's going on. So we had a lot of adversity going into the game. But then to start it the way we did, we jumped on them. And I'm sitting here going, dude, I think we're going to be pretty good, even with all the injuries. And then, I put the kibosh on it by thinking that, because all of a sudden, started the second half, the wheels fell off, and just the fatigue, the lack of depth that we normally have. We got linemen playing in the secondary against the spread, and it's just they've got a phenomenal athlete. The coach is doing a tremendous job of finding holes in us, and they just beat us. But one, it was figuring out, oh my gosh, we got to do some things different. But the second part was, okay, this can happen. This could really happen. That's how fast it can all end. You can be at halftime, feel like you got everything figured out, and then in the next 20 minutes, your dreams can come crashing down. And so then all of a sudden you say, this is what we're going to do in practice, and there's not a kid one. We didn't gripe about anything. We could have told them some of the craziest stuff in the world, and they would have believed it, because the focus changed. After that, we went on a stretch where we won a bunch of games in at half. And we do what's called gassers. For every quarter we missed, we did gassers, which is over and back and over and back.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. And so for every quarter that we missed, we did a gasser, at the end of the game in front of the fans. And the first time we did it, I told them, you guys haven't done anything wrong. I need you to tell your parents you did nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But we're missing some conditioning because we only get half a game. I said, so we're going to get more conditioning. And we ran. And the first time everybody was like, oh my gosh, looking at us. And I thought, I might get fired today. But, but the next few times that it happened, against some good opponents, big opponents, our fans are waiting there. They're cheering while the kids are running. The JV boys are jumping down there in their street clothes and running, and it just became a deal. And I heard, we have a youth football team. I heard our little flag bunch is just pretty good. And they beat somebody really bad. And they said those little first and second graders were just getting the gassers after the game, trying to be like the big boys, and it just became something that the kids fed off of, but it all generated off of, that 20 minutes that we just got our old tails whipped by Calvert, and it refocused us. And to me, I believe that was the defining moment, the turning point of what the season was going to hold out in front of us.
We're talking with Trey Richey, the head coach of the 1A Division I state champion Borden County, here on DCTF Live. Get involved with the conversation, hashtag DCTF Live. Coach, I know you've got a lot of other things to do, but I do want to ask you one more question. Folks,
yes,
maybe
sir.
Some of our younger viewers may not know that you are yourself a pretty big deal in the football ranks between the sidelines as well. Guided the star of the Jayton Jaybirds, running back of the Jayton Jaybirds, a member of the UIL All-Century team, guided them to back-to-back titles in 1984 and 1985. So I got to ask you, Coach, putting you on the spot. You are a high school football legend as a player. Could you still get out there and dominate?
I don't know that I dominated when I played. I played on a football team that might be the best blocking offensive football team that's played the game. And I know I played behind a fullback and a quarterback that, in fact, the quarterback is actually on our staff here. He
Mm-hmm.
was Ricky Martinez. And so he was my quarterback, and I just followed him. And he's, and so to answer your question, I don't know that I was that good to begin with, but, I got one play. And then after that, I think I'm done. And hopefully the hole is big and I can get through it because I'm a whole lot bigger than I used to be. But no, it's fun. I for some reason I've got several of these senior boys in a class, and somebody was talking about an old video, and I actually have it on Huddle, and I pulled it up, and the main thing is because the pep rally, you see me walk up, and the kids get to see just how small I really was, and because they look at me now and they're like, dude, who is that? And the mullet, pulling off the mullet with the the half shirt that your belly's showing, and the jeans that you jump into off the building so you can just barely get them on. The good old times.
The good old days.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you that. But he was, but now a state champion player and a two-time state champion player, a three-time state champion head coach. He is Coach Trey Richey, the head coach of the Borden County Coyotes. Coach, appreciate your time. Congratulations on all your success. Enjoy the off season. Maybe take a break here or there, but I'm sure we'll be talking down the road.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate what you guys do for us. It means a lot.
Absolutely. There he goes, Trey Richey.